In this complaint, which has nothing to do with lifestyle, is simply about fairness of play.
Danbury High School senior Alana Smith is one of 3 student track and field athletes challenging a Connecticut interscholastic athletic conference policy in a new lawsuit.
The CIAC may pretend that it's progressive, but instead, the CIAC is violating Title IX.
The CIAC policy allows for transgender student athletes to compete as the gender they identify with. The lawsuit argues the policy automatically gives transgender students on girls' teams an advantage because they were born biologically male.
Now, when we line up in front of our blocks and the starter calls us to get into position, we all know how the race will end. We can't win.
The lawsuit specifically names Andrea Yearwood and Terry Miller, 2 championship-winning track athletes who identify as girls. We spoke to Yearwood's father back in 2018.
She's running because she wants to be part of a team, and we all understand the benefits of being part of a team at this age.
We know for a fact that there's hundreds of trans-identified athletes that are participating in sex-segregated sports in Connecticut.
But Tony Ferriolo, a transgender youth life coach and founder of the transgender support group TransPAC, says there only seems to be a problem when it's winning athletes. And for those saying it's unfair,
I would say to that person, you don't know that that's the reason.
I asked the Alliance Defending Freedom Legal Counsel representing the girls if transgender girls can't compete for the girls' team, then which team should they play on?
Well, Title IX protects on the basis of biological sex, and we think really the only fair solution is to protect the female sex category and ensure that only biological females compete in women's sports.
And this lawsuit right here also names multiple boards of education in our state, including Cromwell, Danbury, Bloomfield, just to name a few. And I did get a chance to reach out to the CIAC representative who did not have a comment on the specific lawsuit, but he did offer up this statement saying, quote, the CIAC believes that its current policy is appropriate under both state and federal law. It also goes to say the CIAC will respond to that lawsuit after we have a chance to review it further. For now, reporting from Hartford, Aisha Bo, Fox 61 News.
2 transgender students are causing some controversy in Connecticut. They came in first and second at a state track meet, but some parents and students say they have an unfair advantage. ABC's Lindsay Davis has this story.
Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood dominating the competition at the girls' track and field championships in Connecticut, coming in first and second place respectively. And while it was a state race, their wins are making national headlines, not because of what they did, but because of who they are, 2 transgender girls. Critics complaining that Andrea and Terry both have an unfair advantage since they were born boys. The rules vary from state to state. In 7 states, including Texas, students must play on the team that matches their birth certificate, or have undergone surgery, or have had extended hormone therapy, while the NCAA requires the completion of 1 year of testosterone suppression. They've both started hormone therapy and say that for the most part they've been welcomed by friends, family, coaches, and administrators with open arms. But there is some backlash from parents and students. 2 petitions were even started in an attempt to change the current rule of the state's governing body of interscholastic sports. The rule states that students are entitled to participate on a team based on their gender identity, how they identify.
The girls athletes are at the physical disadvantage compared to the transgender female.
Bianca Stanescu started one of those petitions after her daughter Selena lost to Andrea and Terry at a track meet in May. The mom, who was unaware that the girls were already undergoing hormone therapy, has gotten a little over 100 signatures. Medical science tells us that estrogen hormone therapy does change the body, replacing some lean muscle with fat. But of course, everyone is different. Andrea's parents say what's most important to them is the well-being of their child.
Track is number 100 on my list of concerns as a father of a transgender daughter. I'm talking about raising a child for a life.
It allows her to be who she wants to be, and I think that has a little bit more weight than just winning a medal.
That was Lindsay Davis reporting this morning. The athlete said if they were born girls and had boys competing against them, that it would push them to run faster and that they'd be happy for them. But certainly 2 very distinct sides to the story and debate.
The parents make a really good point, though.
Yeah, they do.
At the end of the day, there are some bigger things at play here.
Yeah.
3 Connecticut girls who run high school track have filed a federal discrimination complaint.
They claim a statewide policy on transgender athletes has cost them top finishes in races and possibly college scholarships.
Yeah, the complaint cites Title IX federal rules aimed at equal rights in sports for female athletes. Fox 61's Samara Abramson joins us now with the story. Samara?
Brent and Amanda, today I spoke to one of the athletes who filed the complaint. She's been outspoken for a long time now regarding her opinion about competing against transgender athletes.
Glastonbury Junior sprinter Selena Soule was one of 3 girls identified in a complaint filed Monday with the U.S. Education Department's Office for Civil Rights. The complaint claims a statewide policy on transgender athletes has cost them top finishes in races and possibly college scholarships.
There is a serious disadvantage.
The complaint, which was submitted by the conservative Christian law firm Alliance Defending Freedom on behalf of the students, says transgender girls have been winning track and field events and that the policy violates federal protections for female athletes. While traveling with her mother, Selena chose not to participate in a phone interview, saying she now fears retaliation after appearing on Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox News.
Yes, I have been vocal since earlier this winter, and my mother has been for about a year now.
Selena's mother, Bianca Stanescu, began gathering signatures at track meets last year, calling on the state legislature to require athletes to compete in sports based on their genders at birth, unless an athlete has had hormone therapy.
Their situation like athletics, where your personal decision, personal choice, personal view of who you are doesn't change who you actually are biologically and physiologically.
2 transgender female athletes are named in the complaint, Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood, neither of whom were available to comment Wednesday, but they have both spoken openly about their transgender identities.
Just like life, sports is not always fair.
Dawn Ennis, a transgender woman from West Hartford and managing editor of Outsports.com, says this debate is not about choice.
They didn't ask to be transgender. They didn't decide to be transgender. They are transgender. And what these girls want to do is to run as their true selves. Should we take tall athletes out of pole vaulting? Should we take the fastest runners out of track?
One of the students' mothers told us the American Civil Liberties Union is working on responding to the complaint on behalf of the transgender students. In the studio, Samara Abramson, Fox 61 News.
The conservative Arizona-based Alliance Defending Freedom filed a complaint on behalf of 3 Connecticut girls in Boston Monday. The girls who run track are asking for an investigation into alleged discrimination, claiming 2 Connecticut transgender teens have taken a combined 15 women's state championship titles from other girls. They say it also cost them potential scholarships and opportunities to compete at a higher level. Rashawn Yearwood's daughter Andrea is one of the transgender teens named in the complaint.
My daughter has declared herself as transgender, which brings with it a lot of the negative press that we experience. So anyone who thinks that you do that for the sake of winning a Class S or a state open title in Connecticut is just absurd.
The organization that governs high school sports in Connecticut adopted a policy in 2017 that allows students to compete in sports based on the gender they identify with.
This is political.
Civil rights attorney John Williams says if the complaint were, quote, a real dispute, it would have been filed in federal court in Connecticut. He also noted that Connecticut law is even more protective of transgender rights than federal law.
The fact that they haven't come out, the fact that they haven't gone into federal court here in Connecticut sends a message to me.
Girls deserve to compete on a level playing field. Forcing female athletes to compete against males is not fair and destroys these girls' athletic opportunities.
Alliance Defending Freedom is representing 3 female high school track competitors, filing a suit in federal court to challenge the state's policy of allowing transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports. Selena Soule says it's not a fair playing field.
Now when we line up in front of our blocks and the starter calls us to get into position, we all know how the race will end. We can't win. We've lived it. We've watched it happen. We've missed out on medals and opportunities to compete.
Attorney Christina Holcomb says the state is violating Title IX.
A federal law passed nearly 50 years ago to stop discrimination against women in education while creating equal athletic opportunities for them.
Holcomb says biological males are taking away athletic opportunities for young women.
Because of the CIAC's regressive policy, 2 male athletes have dominated the girls' field, winning 15 state championship titles that were previously held by 9 different Connecticut girls.
I was defeated before stepping onto the track, but I said nothing. Kept it to myself, knowing a biological male had been breaking records in the girls' events he participated in.
The CIAC believes its current policy is appropriate under both state and federal law, and it has been defending that policy in the complaint that was filed previously with the Office of Civil Rights.
We won't be sidelined and we won't be silenced. We truly believe that there are better solutions to protect the opportunities for all athletes.
ADF attorneys are asking the court to stop enforcement of CIAC's policy while the lawsuit moves forward.
We cannot continue to pretend that allowing males to compete in the girls' category does anything less than spell the end of women's sports.
A federal lawsuit claims Connecticut rules violate Title IX requirements by allowing transgender student athletes to compete based on gender identity. The CIAC adopted the rule in 2013, but the Alliance Defending Freedom says this violates Title IX rules against discrimination based on sex. The lawsuit says the CIAC is ignoring the physical differences between the sexes would in many sports make it impossible to accommodate the abilities of girls and women.
The CIAC may pretend that it's progressive, but instead, the CIAC is violating Title IX.
The Christian Conservative Alliance is representing 3 girls who run high school track and field. The girls say 2 transgender athletes have been consistently winning track meets.
Now when we line up in front of our blocks and the starter calls us to get into position, we all know how the race will end. We can't win.
Bloomfield and Cromwell high schools are named in the lawsuit because the transgender athletes run for them. The CIAC said in a statement that it consulted with several agencies about its policies. Those groups include the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights, the Connecticut State Department of Education, the National Federation of State High School Associations, and the Office for Civil Rights. The CIAC also says it believes its current policy is appropriate under both state and federal law, and it has been defending that policy in the complaint that was filed previously with the Office of Civil Rights. True Colors, an LGBTQ advocacy group, also criticized the lawsuit, saying what they are proposing is legally sanctioned discrimination under this lawsuit.
And Attorney Williams says he believes that the CIAC has done its due diligence to be compliant with both state and federal law. Live in the newsroom, Samaya Hernandez, News 8. The girls who run track are asking for an investigation into alleged discrimination, claiming 2 Connecticut transgender teens have taken a combined 15 women's state championship titles from other girls.
Just like life, sports is not always fair.
And Tucker, to underscore the inequity here, I want to highlight the fact one of these male athletes now holds 10 records inside the state of Connecticut that were once held by 10 individual girls and were established over the course of about a 20-year period. So it's fundamentally unfair.
Just like life, sports is not always fair.